Hi there, Randi Green here. Let us continue. So we're born. And in that moment, we are carrying the imprints of our past lives. And prior to that, lives before that, that holds these patterns of existence, of experiences, and what we have interpreted in our mind field, as well as what we have felt, but not transformed in our emotional field, as well as the impacts that this will have on our biofield. So that is brought in, and that gives the foundation of the life that we are born into. Parents are not chosen by us as a voluntarily, I want these parents, but what is due to the energetic laws of reality in alignment with our current type of energy system, so that we can continue our progression journey of growth into becoming so much more than we have been so far. Naturally, these are the teachings. I like to turn things around and say, actually, we have become less and less, and each life is a type of devolution. But if we go within the samsara, the wheel of rebirth that is part of whatever's going on our planet, and I don't want to go into that now, but there is a deeper implication there I explain in the Transition Sciences Template Science course material, where you will then get that extra dimensional layer to it that is not normally interpreted and incorporated in the traditional spiritual teachings, nor in the Buddhist teachings. Yes, they are associated with different realms, but these are inhabited by different types of gods and semi-gods. And these gods and semi-gods are, in my interpretation, what we understand as extraterrestrials. Okay. So we are who we are, we're born in due to what we have been in the past life. So the goal of each life is, of course, and naturally, to clear out these patterns of existence that are part of our fields and in a way prohibits us from fully experiencing the full scope of what reality really is. And what is reality as it really is? Well, this is the conundrum, because once we really get the insights of what reality really is, we stop seeing a reality, but we will see patterns of change, fluctuations, things are impermanent, nothing really exists. All of these are just elements and tiny energy units that are gathered together as we observe them. They become, or they go into existence as they come in touch with our perception of what we perceive it to be, then it comes into existence. So the part of the journey of the no-self is to understand that reality is because we perceive it. Reality is because we interpret reality to be what reality is. So if we stop perceiving it in a specific way, then reality can be free to be what it actually is. And that is the sum of potentials of energies that can transform in many different directions. So that's the first step for us to realize that nature and reality, not as much our world, because it is highly engineered and controlled by very advanced forms of technology. But in the original holographic worlds, this principle applies, that what we are as a conscious being determines what reality we participate in. And that's very important to understand that. And in that manner, we co-create it naturally as part of the laws within the reality field, the laws of the collective, of the living beings that are present in that reality field, and the laws under which things arise and fall away. So this is part of the worlds that we are stepping in and out of, like weird spheres or bubbles of existence. And that's what the interim is, as I remember it. Between lives, there is these bubbles of existence that we can view and see in this weird way. And the question is, how long are we in the interim? Well, there's no time. So it can be a fleeting now, or it can be an extended now, or it can be a medium now. It doesn't matter. It all depends on how quickly a set of parents become available and then suck us in, so to speak, when they are having fun. And these are again due to the laws of energetic and genetic affinity. So we're not determining, I want to be born. It's actually when a set of parents have that joint field that aligns with our energetic composition, we get sucked right back in. So this runs automatically, like an assembly line. It's not a choice. It happens. The choice is what we chose to be in the past life. So when we are looking at this life with that knowledge, and we understand that when we go to the interim in between lives, we are seeing all of these potentials that we could have become if we had chosen differently. Unfortunately, we forget that again when we get sucked back in and get sucked into the joint field of our parents, which for some is interpreted as this weird tunnel of light that kind of sucks us right in. And then we merge into that joint field and then get added on top of what we already have. So the practice is that first and foremost, we understand that we have had many selves. So how can we interpret the sense of self? Well, a sense of self is what I prefer to call an interface system between the physical form I am now a part of and is managing as these sum of elements and energies that are supposed to be transformative all the time. How do I maintain this? How do I give it the best conditions? How do I ensure the best level of health due to the already conditions that I have and I'm born with? And we're here talking about nature as in what I have inherited from the fields of my parents, what is ingrained in me due to my karma, and how I am administering these different types of already solidified potentials of my existence. I know this sounds very wordy, but this is the best way to put it. When we have these very specific words, it makes it easier to meditate upon what that actually means, to contemplate on these concepts, because then it will unveil its deeper layers in meditation. So all of this that you're listening to here, all of these strings of words that follow each other are concepts that will assist you in contemplation work, where you take the concept, you contemplate on it. What does it mean to be born with these patterns of previous existence? And then see how that rolls out. Investigate it, let it roll out its content. You can also focus on it and say, what is existence? And then focus on one concept and then let the focused mind, or use it as a meditation object, unroll what existence is. And you will probably understand when you look at existence that way, that you will just see it as fluctuations of different forms of energy. That's how I see existence. So the step in this, as we grow up and have this interface system, so we can be part of this world, understand this world, learn to manage our physical form, learn to handle our spectrum of emotions in a proper way so we don't blow up as a reaction to everything, but actually has the appropriate behavior to whatever comes our way, and then eventually learn to make these emotions more and more subtle and less dense, and by that less and less reactive, and end up in what we understand as, most of the time, a full understanding of what's going on, but also letting the different emotional energies that we experience with either within ourselves or from others flow through us, experience them. Yes, sometimes it hurts, sometimes it's happiness, sometimes it's joy, sometimes it's love, sometimes it's just a neutral standpoint. But all of these are energies, that's just what they are. And if we can keep our mind silent in that very, very specific moment where specific energies flow our way, whether it's extreme love or it's anger or whatever kind of emotion that arises from within ourselves and from others, without making narratives and constructions of mind on top of it, then these emotions will just be like waves of energy. They will just be vibrations, like the sun that emits its rays, and other days it doesn't, like the wind that comes our way, another day it's not there. These different experiences of energy as they rise and how it impact our body. The sun that heats us up, sometimes it's nice, sometimes it's not. The wind that blows our way, sometimes it's a relief, sometimes it's an opposition. The same with our emotions. The spectrum of emotions are there to be experienced, acknowledged, worked through, transformed, and then reach a platform of balance and harmony either within ourselves or amongst the others that we are having these emotional experiences with. That, of course, takes practice. It's not something that's easily done, but that's the goal of the emotional field. And then the mental field of all of these constructions and beliefs are to be just, if we choose to focus, then we can interpret, take up the flashlight, investigate it, take up the rock, investigate it, and then we can classify and say, this is this is that, and then we put energy onto it. But we can also just as well just look up, oh, it's that, and then put it back, and then no longer pay attention to it, no longer let it take up any energy, no longer let it be. There's no need to store all of that in our brain. Our brain is a working computer. That means it transforms information into different layers of neural networks that for a period of time can be of high use if we are investigating something and learning something. But then we can just let it go, and eventually this neural pattern, the myelin sheet that's been built around the neurons and the pathway in the synapses will then fade away, and then the brain will focus on something else. So it's about learning the brain not to do all of that building for information that is just as fleeting and impermeable like everything else. Nothing is there. Nothing is the real truth. The real truth is there is no truth, that everything is impermeable, changeable, and shift according to what type of awareness and consciousness we use. Of course, the brain is not to be placid and like gooey, and we still have to keep it a high informational working unit so that whatever we focus on, it will work the way that it's supposed to. But we need to learn to use it as a muscle, like we use our legs and our body. Sometimes it relaxes and sometimes it's in use, and not always having some kind of program, some kind of thought, some kind of ideology, some kind of interpretation system running as a subcurrent. It needs rest as well. And once it begins to develop into the higher levels of consciousness in the monastic field, or the higher levels of radiation patterns that aligns with interconnection points of reality, touches them via the mind's eye into the other dimensions of our reality, we learn to observe and see what's there, and what stands out and needs to be worked with will be ours to get a contact point with via our mind's eye, and then kind of draw it into a field from where we can observe it and work with it. And then once it's done, transform it, evaporate it, and let it go. So what will we end up with when we've done that? Well, of course, that's the first step in this life. Then we'll work past into the past lives and the other lives that we have had where we were not aware enough to do this process, hence the karma. So we're working through the many layers of our fields until eventually we just have these clear, permeable fields that can stay dormant in meditation, contemplation, and just be silent. Or they can actively come to life if we choose to do so. That is where, in how I see it, that's where my interpretation of reality slips into codes. Instead of elements, it becomes units. And these units have a code that if I ignite that code, then I ignite a specific type of pattern that then comes to life in my field. And then I can become a working memory, a kind of a working emotional system, a working self, a working interpretive system. And if there's nothing there for me to investigate, then I just go dormant. I just can't go into this relaxed state where energies flow in and out of me, where existence is just pure existence. And that's kind of how I see the sense of no self. This ability to float, be diffuse, and then shift and be focused and transformative. And I think that's kind of how I will end this podcast. Of course, there is more to say, and I could jump into a new level of understanding. But in the understanding of anatta or no self is the understanding of when to switch it on and when to silence it, when to keep it active and when to let it go dormant. Because then the world is, from time to time, just energies that we throw through. And when we learn to be this flowing through, changeable, relaxed, calm, balanced, harmonized in this reality as things are right now type of being, and not interpreting it, judging it, deeming it, clinging on to specific perceptions, whatever, it just is what it is, then we are not creating any patterns. We are not creating anything that lodges into our fields that will be something that becomes crystallized, and by that create a richer structure for where we begin to identify ourselves with these crystallized patterns of ideas and emotions and perceptions of reality. So for me, that is the solution to quote unquote karma, or the energetic patterns that we engineer and create in each lifetime. It is easier said than done because there are many patterns, and each moment in a way creates a pattern. Even when we are dormant and silent, that creates a pattern too. So all of these abilities that we developed as part of the process awareness, where we constantly understand that whatever we are must be cleared and maintained and transformed and upgraded or thrown away or whatever, we become like the processes of our body. It is always changing, it's always doing something, but not as a kind of energy draining doing something that crystallizes, but just being part of the elements that we are composed of that naturally changes according to the weather, that naturally changes according to what we eat, that naturally changes according to whether we're awake or relaxed or asleep, the different states of the neural network as we know it from the different brainwave patterns that aligns with different modalities of energies that we are utilizing. So the goal is to learn to understand ourselves as different types of energies and how to maintain and utilize these energies. As I would like to say here, this awareness is not always present. Sometimes there are so many experiences that comes my way that I have to create a very solidified form of self. And often I experience in these periods where a lot of things are being thrown at me, as I normally say, both inside and outside energetically and from other dimensions and encounters and whatnot, then eventually this level of just letting things process through is not working so well, and a lot of solidification begins to happen. And once that happens, there must be some kind of crash because it's built upon a loose foundation. And once that happens, then I go into this complete dissolving, deconstruction mode where I have to go through the emotional responses to what I've experienced, as well as the mental responses and onward and so forth, just to go through the process again of clearing it out and letting it go, and then turn back to the balance point where things again just can flow through me. It's like having a stomach ache, and once you've been to the bathroom, it goes away. The same with energy work, the same with the work on other realities, if we are to follow the guidelines of no self and how to become transformable and not crystallize in different patterns that generate karma. Of course, lectures have been held on this, and hours of explanations have been held on this. But this is just my little short sum up of what I can share here with you on the topic. And to some degree, I hope this will give you insights and perhaps some keywords from where you can contemplate on and then discover your own journey into what you perceive self or no self, reality or no reality, what is and what isn't, and the true purpose and existence and level of existence and what existence is, to the degree that suits you, so that you can become this transformable, changeable system that operates towards high degree of harmony and balance, so that whatever comes your way can be picked up, looked at, cleared out, let go of in this life, as well as whatever future lives that you may choose to have, or if you choose not to have any, to make your entire life become this changeable, non-crystallized, forever experiencing and yet not experiencing type of being. Thank you.